Question: what happens when a video game franchise gets massively popular? We get a movie! Especially in the early 90s, when the potential of storytelling in video games was starting to get noticed. It happened in 1993 with Super Mario Bros., it happened in 1994 with Double Dragon, and the following month we received the Jean-Claude Van Damme action thriller Street Fighter. This was the third attempt at Hollywood making a major motion picture based on a video game. Now, most video game movies are considered bad. Is Street Fighter one of those movies too? Oh yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. But do I love this movie? Absolutely. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, and it's full of shenanigans. So today on Midnight Movies, we're going to take a close look at this masterpiece. The Street Fighter universe has a rich history and backstory for all of its characters that's been fleshed out through multiple video game sequels and various forms of media, such as animated movies and comic books. The overall struggle in most Street Fighter stories involves the evil criminal organization Shadaloo, as its leader Bison craves world domination, and several fighters gather to fight their way to him and stop him. One of the most notable of those fighters is Ryu, a martial artist intensely focused on finding strong opponents to fight and bettering himself as a warrior. Well, forget most of the things you know about the video game universe, because much of that is just thrown out the window completely. Instead of Shadaloo being a criminal organization, it's a fictional country that's been taken over by General Bison. The movie version of the United Nations, called the Allied Nations, sent in a humanitarian group to help the citizens of Shadaloo, and Bison took them hostage. After demanding a $20 billion ransom, Colonel William F. Guile guides his forces to get rid of Bison and topple his government.
Bison! I know you like to look at yourself on television, you sick son of a bitch. So look at this.
And that's really as deep as the story in this movie gets. I understand that America is made up of all kinds of races and cultures, but Guile has always been represented as a stereotypical all-American soldier, like Duke from G.I. Joe. So I find it hilarious that he's being played by a Belgian actor with a heavy accent.
Just take the hostages out. If I'm not topside in 15 minutes, evacuate without me. Both of you.
This was clearly done just to ride on Van Damme's incredible star power at the time. And in this movie, he's on a quest to save the hostages and his friend Charlie. You know, Charlie Nash, his friend from the video game that was thought to have been killed in a battle with Bison.
Carlos Blanca. Charlie.
Wait, Carlos Blanca? As in Blanca? Yep.
Charlie! It's me! I'm your friend, William! William!
The movie combines the character of Charlie and Blanca into the same person. Two completely unrelated characters. Bison sticks Charlie in a secret lab that looks like something right out of a Dr. Dreadful playset, complete with beakers full of bubbling liquid, mysterious fumes, and neon fluids that are clearly some sort of Kool-Aid or Hawaiian Punch mix. And this is where we meet Dhalsim, the Indian yoga master that stretches like Mr. Fantastic and blows fire from his mouth. Except in this version, he's nothing like his video game counterpart. Except that he does have these bracelets chained to him for no reason at all, other than to kind of resemble the bracelets he has in the game. He's been reduced to a scientist captured by Bison, forced to turn Charlie into a super soldier, and he's constantly being monitored by evil Super Mario. By the end of the movie, he secretly helps out Charlie, now Blanca, escape, which you can see coming from a mile away. There is absolutely no surprise here. One aspect of this movie I really have to compliment is that most of the actors look like they're having a blast playing their characters. Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile is full of all kinds of insults and cheesy one-liners throughout the whole movie. It's outstanding.
Colonel, have you lost your mind?
No. You've lost your balls. This is the collection agency, Bison. Your ass is 6 months overdue.
You have made me a happy man.
Next, I'll make you a dead one.
And about halfway through the movie, Guile fakes his death, and Chun-Li breaks into his headquarters and sees where his body is, and he just pops up. Was he just waiting under there all day, waiting for someone to walk in so he could scare the shit out of them? It makes no sense. And you might recognize Raul Julia as Gomez from the Addams Family. Bison was his final role before he passed away, and he went all out. His performance was completely over the top, and it's delightful every time he's on screen.
Come here prepared to fight a madman, and instead you found a god?
I guess you didn't see that, did you?
And even his character was written to be overly eccentric. He's got chandeliers in his headquarters made out of human bones like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's got himself painted riding a horse in a very Napoleon-like painting. And he also has another painting of himself as a clown in the style of real-life serial killer John Wayne Gacy. I was so confused by this. It makes no sense. But my favorite item of all time in Bison's collection is this. Near the end of the movie, Guile is on his way to go face him, and Bison is activating some mines in the water to blow him up. If you take a close look at his control station, it's a freaking arcade control panel. This is one of the greatest things I have ever seen in a movie. And I feel so bad for him too. Everybody wants to stop him. All he wants to do is rule the world and build a city called Bisonopolis with a food court.
I think the food court should be larger. All the big franchises will want in.
Now, two characters that should have been the main focus of the movie, Ryu and Ken. Ryu, the martial artist that's always seeking a greater challenge and constantly struggling to keep his inner power from taking over and controlling him. And Ken, his rich best friend that grew up with him training under the same master in Japan. None of this is in the movie. And I feel that I need to make this last statement before I continue here. I am not making this up. In Street Fighter, the live-action movie, Ryu and Ken are con artists. They make their living screwing over criminals with bad business deals. When you first meet them, they're on the way to meet Sagat, who in this movie is some kind of weapons dealer that's allied with Bison. They sold Sagat some guns that ended up being fake weapons that shoot tennis balls. This whole scenario to me was just shocking. Ryu and Ken are con artists. As a Street Fighter fan, that is so hard to swallow. And I love the stock ball bouncing sounds that they added in. Ryu and Ken get captured because of this, and Ryu's forced to fight Vega in a cage match. And I thought this was kind of cool because his stage in the game also looks like a cage match. And I enjoyed Vega in this movie. He doesn't really do a whole lot other than being a henchman, but he's flamboyant, he's got his mask, he's got his claws, he's got his snake tattoo, and he's obsessed with his looks. By the end of the movie, of course, Ryu and Ken team up with Guile and his forces, and get red and white uniforms in an attempt to resemble the video game characters in some way. And Cammy and T-Hawk are almost not even worth mentioning. T-Hawk is just a soldier that's part of Guile's unit. That's literally all there is to say about him. And I find the size difference between the movie version and the video game version of him hilarious. And Cammy's role is pretty much the same as T-Hawk, just a soldier in Guile's unit. She's played by Australian singer Kylie Minogue. She's got her British accent, she's got her gauntlets, and her pigtails. Oddly enough, she is wearing a lot more clothes than she does in the games. And Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li was great. They changed her from an Interpol agent hunting down Bison to a news reporter, but her motivation is still there. She wants revenge against Bison, who killed her father, just like in the games.
The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
It's time!
And two of the biggest what the hell did they do moments are when you meet Honda and Balrog. They're Chun-Li's co-workers in the news van. What? Where did they get this from? They have never been remotely close to ever being depicted as news channel employees. Actually, Balrog is supposed to be a villain, and one of Bison's most ruthless lieutenants. Not Chun-Li's co-worker, but at least he is still an ex-boxer. Oh look, here's more stock sounds right out of Looney Tunes. Let's look at that again. What I want you to focus on is how little he winds up that punch, and this dude goes flying. And Honda, the Japanese sumo wrestler. Well, he's not Japanese here, he's Hawaiian. If you couldn't tell from the way he looks, just look at the way he dresses. And I love when he's getting whipped by Bison's torturer. He's so big, he can't even feel it. Oh yeah, more stock sounds. This time a little Hawaiian melody. And DJ, the kickboxer from Jamaica, is also in the movie. I almost forgot to talk about him because he's one of Bison's soldiers and he does absolutely nothing in this movie. But yeah, he's in there too. And Zangief, the Russian wrestler known as the Red Cyclone. The only way they could figure out how to include him in this movie is making him one of Bison's soldiers too, and he was hilarious in just about every scene. This dude sounds just like Zangief is supposed to sound like.
Sorry, man. Can't play no more.
Coward! Come back! DJ!
And he's perhaps even more over the top than Bison, and they made him stupid too.
Quick! Change the channel!
He didn't even realize that he was working for the bad guys until DJ tells him.
The enemies of peace and freedom are at our walls!
Are you totally demented, man? Our boss is the enemy of freedom and peace. These people have come from all over the world to stop him. If you're smart, you'll save your own ass.
General Bison! He's a bad guy.
So he suddenly switches sides at the very end of the movie after he realizes this. And the battle between Honda and Zangief was epic. These two huge men, one a sumo, the other a wrestler, go around Bison's base, crashing through walls, crashing through floors, and causing all kinds of destruction. Notice I've talked about pretty much every character in Super Street Fighter 2 except one, Fei Long. As a kid, when I saw this movie, my friends and I always thought this was Fei Long. He's under Guile's command during the attack on Bison's base, just like Cammy and T-Hawk, so it would make perfect sense in this movie. But no, he's some made-up character called Sawada. Why? They changed so many other characters already, why not just make this guy Fei Long? He's even included at the end when all the characters do their victory poses. What the hell is this nobody even doing there? Throughout the movie, all these characters slowly meet up and eventually go fight Bison and his forces together, and Guile and Bison have their final battle. Bison's defeated until his suit brings him back to life.
It'll go either way.
Well, it's gonna go our way. Have our troops on the upper levels fall back and turn on the enemy. We'll trap the...
And this was cool. It reminded me of his Psycho Crusher move. But that still didn't help him much, because we have Jean-Claude Van Damme performing some magnificent kicks. And you do get a glimpse of some diet versions of moves from the games too, like Ryu's Hadouken. And you also see Ken's powerful Shoryuken Flaming Fist technique. Was that it? That was it. As much as I'm making fun of this movie, it's a good time. Especially if you're watching with a group of friends during a night of alcoholic beverages. It's chock full of ridiculousness. Even all the electronics in the movie are so fragile that they blow up if they're touched. Street Fighter does make some attempt to respect the video games. Sagat's stage in the game has a huge statue in the background. You see that same one in the background in the movie briefly. Bison's stage in the game has a big bell in the background too, and they also recreated that. Street Fighter overall is a pretty bad movie, but in an entertaining, late-night Netflix viewing kind of way. And it became popular enough to leave behind a cartoon series that takes elements from the movie, and even a video game. Street Fighter, the movie, the game. We'll get to that one day, I promise. If you had fun watching this review, like, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. And follow me on Facebook and Twitter too. And when you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. This is Fabian. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
Game over!